Hen, this is my house. If you don't obey me, you pack your things and get out.
Madame Kaffir stood at the center of the dusty courtyard, her chest rising and falling like a drum beaten in anger. Her wrapper was pulled so tight around her waist it looked painful, and her finger jabbed forward again and again, sharp as a spear aimed at the young woman standing calmly before her. "You dare question me in my own house," she shouted. "You will curse the day you were born." But the young woman did not kneel. She did not shake. She did not plead. And that moment, quiet, steady, unyielding, marked the beginning of the end for the woman many tenants secretly called Madame Steele, the landlord no one dared challenge. What Madame Kaffir did not realize was this: she had just picked a fight with the only tenant in that compound who refused to be crushed. Before we continue, if stories like this speak to you, consider subscribing. We share powerful African stories every week, stories of courage, justice, and everyday people who refuse to bow to oppression. Now back to the story. In the crowded heart of Oshel district, a tightly packed neighborhood where buildings leaned against one another like tired men after a long day, stood a compound known far beyond its walls. People spoke of it with pity for those trapped inside, and relief that they were not among them. The property belonged to Madame Kaffir Danjuma, a 55-year-old woman whose name alone could make grown men double-check their rent receipts. Thick-set, loud, and hardened by years of unchecked authority, she ruled her compound of 16 tenants like a military camp. In Oshel, shelter was not a right. It was a privilege. And Madame Kaffir made sure everyone remembered who controlled that privilege. She lived in the front building, perfectly positioned like a guard tower. No visitor passed without her knowing. No generator hummed without her approval. No laughter rose without her suspicion. No visitors after 7 p.m. No generator after 9. No solar panels on my roof. Are you insulting me? Teachers, drivers, tailors, traders, everyone obeyed. They nodded, kept quiet, and swallowed their pride. Because in a city where rent demanded 2 years up front, fear was cheaper than homelessness. Mr. Lowell had lived in room 9 for 11 years. 11 years of punctual rent. 11 years of respect. 11 years of sweeping the compound without being asked. He was the kind of man elders described as a clean hand, gentle, helpful, dependable. But the city is unforgiving. When street boys destroyed his delivery tricycle for refusing to settle, his savings vanished overnight, school fees, business money, everything. So when Madame Kaffir came banging on his door one humid evening, demanding rent already overdue by 1 month, Mr. Lowell did something he had never done before. He asked for mercy. "Madam, please," he said quietly, standing beside his wife Zainab. "Give me 1 month, just 30 days, I will pay everything." Her face twisted with rage. "So after eating in my house for 11 years, you now want to turn me into a charity?" she screamed. "Get out, 3 days. If I see you here after that, I will throw your things into the gutter." 3 days later, she did exactly that. With hired street boys, Mr. Lowell's life was dumped onto the roadside. Mattress, pots, clothes, even the children's school books. Neighbors watched. Some cried. None intervened. In this city, silence was survival. 2 months later, a new tenant moved into room 9. Her name was Enkay. She was 29, from a riverside town in the east, with a calm beauty and eyes that didn't flinch easily. She worked remotely in digital security, spoke confidently, and carried her grandmother's final words in her heart. "Learn when to bend, but never allow yourself to be broken." She paid her rent, $650,000 up front, and settled in. And she noticed everything. How women cooked early to avoid insults. How men whispered in their own homes. How Madame Kaffir was always watching. When Enkay tried to install a small shoe rack, trouble began. "Did I permit you to drill my wall?" Madame Kaffir barked. Enkay removed it quietly. She bent. But when visitors were banned, when generators were restricted, when solar panels were forbidden, she stopped bending. The breaking point came on a Friday evening. Enkay was cooking pepper soup, fresh fish, fragrant spices. The smell drifted through the corridor like a memory of home. Bangs, bangs, bang. The door shook. Madame Kaffir burst in using her master key. "Are you mad? What rubbish smell is this? Are you trying to poison us?" "Auntie, the food is fine," Enkay said calmly. Pack out, no." Something snapped, not loudly, not violently, but firmly. "Madam," Enkay replied, switching off her stove, "I paid for this flat. I am cooking food in my home. I am not leaving." The compound froze. That night, Enkay did not search for new accommodation. She searched the tenant protection laws. 2 weeks later, Madame Kaffir announced a rent increase from 650,000 to 1.2 million. Gasps filled the courtyard. "This is illegal," Enkay said, standing. "Silence." She quoted the law calmly, accurately. Madame Kaffir exploded. "Pack out, no." "I'm not going anywhere," Enkay replied. The next morning, Madame Kaffir arrived with street boys and police. But Enkay recorded everything. She went to the station, not to beg, but to file a lawsuit. 80 million. Illegal eviction. Psychological abuse. Witnesses came forward. Stories poured out. Years of oppression surfaced. The judge listened. And when Madame Kaffir said, "It's my house, I can do what I want," the judge replied, "This is not a kingdom, this is a country governed by law." The verdict: 12 million compensation. Property seized temporarily. Illegal rent hikes cancelled. Forced sale of the compound. 6 months later, the compound breathed again. Music played. Food cooked freely. Fear left. Mr. Lowell returned home. Madame Kaffir was gone. Enkay sat outside one evening as an elderly tenant said softly, "We call you the woman who spoke." Enkay smiled. "I only refused to stay silent." Moral of the story: power without compassion always collapses. And sometimes, one voice is enough to end years of fear. If this story moved you, subscribe for more African stories that heal, teach, and empower. Comment below, where are you watching from, and have you ever stood up to injustice? May your home be safe. May your courage never fail. Thank you.